What's up, J-Brones? Live from Brooklyn, New York and Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada, this is the Torture Rack Podcast. I am your host, Marc Basque. My co-host is John F. Malta, and we are very happy to be here with you, our friends in wrestling. John, say something. Let the people know you're alive, pal.
I'm buried in books over here, bro.
You got a lot of books.
A lot of books behind me. I got boxes and boxes of Torture Wracked issue 4 printed. We've been saying that I guess we've started, it's like this is the 8th episode of this podcast, and I think every episode has started with me saying it's done in varying forms. We've made fun of it a few times, but like this is probably the last time that we will say that we will begin an episode by me saying it's done. I will provide shipping updates, those kinds of things for people that are listening and wondering what's going on with that. But yeah,
they're in hand.
They're in hand.
They're in hand.
All the issues are here. We did this once. We'll do it one more time.
One more time.
160 pages.
That is actually even a thicker boy than I thought it was going to be.
Got a nice big spine on it. It's a 1/2 inch thick spine. Psyched about it. So happy that it's printed and done. The pocket reader is on the way. I just sent that off to the printer too. So everything, for everyone that is listening to this that has pre-ordered the magazine, the ship date that I listed should be good. July 20th, the week of July 20th, everything should be going out. I'm still planning to go to the post office then and ship everything. So just quite a few orders though. So probably break it up over a couple of days that week, and the orders will be off. But yeah, I've just been sifting through merch all morning and eating raisin toast. How you doing, Marc?
I had a job interview because we got to keep Torture Racked
Gotta keep the lights
afloat.
Yeah.
Got to keep the lights on. Got to keep our day jobs until we can get more Patreon followers.
Aside from Thomas, yeah.
Aside from Thomas. I'm just psyched to talk about wrestling. I feel like we have, it feels like an incredible, almost like a backlog of wrestling that we have.
And it's only been a week though.
It's been such a crazy week. Next week's going to be crazy. Probably the next couple weeks. And then maybe we might actually have time for more supercards when it kind of dries up a little bit.
I know. Right at the start of COVID, we were watching, I feel like we were booking the whole weeks around supercards.
Yeah, we were watching at least one supercard a week.
It was also before we did this podcast too. So we had a little bit more time.
And it was before Thomas was in on it too, because we were at first watching WWE and NXT supercards, and he wasn't interested in that. But once we started onto the ECW and JPW, he's on board.
Yeah, that was really fun that week that we watched. You made the Shawn Michaels supercard, and we booked it. You and I just watched it when we could. That was really fun. It was like, it's like 4:00 on Thursday. Neither of us are doing anything. Let's throw on Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, and it was the same week as WrestleMania, so it was like it felt like a whole week of wrestling in a way that like we got to sort of experience a WrestleMania weekend from our homes because of the amount of wrestling we were watching that week.
I feel like it's such a shocking turn from COVID, kind of being a little bit of a dearth of wrestling other than obviously weekly WWE and NXT and AEW shows, and now it just feels like there's so much wrestling we couldn't even watch it all if we wanted to.
That's a really good point. Yeah, it seemed I was actually thinking that because I watched so much wrestling this week just because I felt like it, not necessarily because I felt like I had to. And I was thinking about like how great it feels that New Japan is back and regularly putting on shows to the point where I'll go to the New Japan website and be like, oh, wait a minute, I have 2 shows to watch instead of 1. And
yes, that happened to me where in the fact that last time we thought we were reviewing the quarterfinals and we said we were moving on to the semis. We were actually just reviewing the second round. Supposed to move on to the quarterfinals. I accidentally jumped to the semis and ruined all those quarterfinal matches for myself. No surprises in the quarterfinals, but then the semifinals was full of surprises.
Absolutely.
As we will go through. But what else have you been watching, John?
I feel like I've watched so many different things this week in terms of the different promotions that I've watched. Violent Miracle, for those of you listening that might not know, you should follow him on Instagram at Violent Miracle. He's been making these mixtapes throughout coronavirus since COVID hit. If you join his mailing list, which can be found at violentmiracle.com/mailing mailing-list. You can get added to the mailing list, and he sends out a mixtape or like a super tape every couple of weeks. I think he's done 8 now, so maybe he's been doing it like every other week.
So are they physical tapes?
Not actual tapes, though. Like they're links to YouTube playlists that he like very carefully curates. And this week's tape was New Jack, and New Jack in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which is not something that I have watched a ton of. I am most familiar. I as I've said on our earlier podcast, New Jack was one of the few wrestlers that I really kept me invested in wrestling during sort of the periods where I didn't really watch it, between the early 2000s and like 2017, 2016. And New Jack was one wrestler I kept up with, and I've always meant to watch his old Smoky Mountain matches, and they're really cool. I think that you would like them a lot, Mark. It's very Attitude Era brawling, and the promos are completely unreal that New Jack cuts during this time.
You did send me an excerpt of one of those promos, and it was wild.
He screams about how he wants to pull people's eyes out and break bones, and he wants to hear bones cracking. He wants to pull people's eyes out of their heads. He wants to see them knocked out, and that him and Mustafa did not come to Smoky Mountain Wrestling to play. And this is in like a feud with the Rock and Roll Express. That it's a great feud within Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I don't know enough about Smoky Mountain Wrestling to know the most significant feuds, but to me this seems like a fairly significant aspect of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And just seeing these matches took place in 1994, and New Jack is brawling with the Rock and Roll Express. It's like it's proto ECW wild brawling. There's a moment where they're all brawling, the match hasn't started, and New Jack puts a noose around Ricky Morton's neck and throws him over the ropes and is hanging him from the ring to the ground. And the crowd is just going insane because Rock and Roll Express are the faces in the match. And yeah, a lot of like backstage stuff where they're like fighting into the parking lot. And I don't know, man, it's really cool. I highly recommend you all get added to his mailing list, and also just seek out New Jack's Smoky Mountain stuff, because he actually wrestles in it too. For everyone that thinks he's just known for jumping off of stuff and kind of doing crazy, wild, violent things, there's a lot of just really great worked wrestling going on in those matches as well.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
One of them's kind of a sidebar. Ricky Morton, is he the one that put over AEW recently?
He is, yeah. Yeah, that was cool to see too. Yeah.
Yeah, he just went on and just said, if you don't think that what that 8-man tag was storytelling, you need to watch it again, because what they did in the ring or something to that tune was magnificent. Great storytelling. I thought that was super cool. Having someone from that era who is known for more 80s wrestling kind of put over spot fests.
Didn't he like compare it to Rembrandt painting?
I think he did. He's
or something.
Goddamn smart man, Ricky Morton.
It's cool. That's cool to see, though, that he's very much in support of that. They did a spot in AEW at one point, didn't they?
You're right. Yes, and he can still Canadian Destroyer.
Oh my God! Yeah, and Suicide Dive too. Yeah.
That was
crazy.
question 1. Question 2. Can I get a update on New Jack's forehead at this time?
Oh, it's fine.
Totally unscathed.
Yeah. Yes.
Hasn't seen the horrors of ECW War.
Yeah, I think ECW and then the post ECW bloodbaths that he participated in are the culprit of that forehead, more so than this era, where there maybe was blood. With the matches I watched, there was no blood. So,
did he experience racism in Smoky Mountain? Is that what he said?
I don't know.
Dark Side of the Ring, Doc.
I can't say for sure, but I know he did say that in the Dark Side of the Ring episode. And just the optics of the entire thing, where it's like they're in the South, and all of his promos are engendering that sort of thing. I think he does say something about that in the Dark Side of the Ring episode, that it was D'Lo Brown talks about it, because D'Lo Brown was one of the Gangstas too. It was D'Lo Brown, Mustafa, and New Jack, and D'Lo Brown talks about being a part of the storyline and be a part of this group that is engendering. They're basically engendering the sort of racial feud that's happening between basically New Jack, his crew, and the entire Smoky Mountain arena, and being just a person, D'Lo Brown, just a person within that, as someone who was a performer slotted in with these guys. Remember him saying that it was a weird position to be in.
Yeah, it must have been really intense.
Yeah, I'm sure. Early 90s. Wild time. But yeah, and then we both watched together. Well, you tapped out of it, but we watched some Pro Wrestling Noah. Go versus Fujita. Did you actually not watch the 31-minute stare down?
No.
How long did you watch it for?
I watched it for about 5 minutes, and then I skipped ahead and saw that it went on for 30 minutes. So I skipped 30 minutes in, started to watch the sort of takedowns, and...
Were you not gripped by the stare down?
I was gripped for 5 minutes.
And then did you look, and then you were like, how long does this
That's
go?
Exactly right. Yeah. So it's just two people staring at each other for 30 minutes and then wrestling for, 10?
Yes. I would say the match that they have after the stare down is okay. I don't think it's it isn't, if that was just the match, I don't think it would be a standout COVID era match. But the stare down, I would say, makes the match, though.
I thought I had patience watching 3-hour art films, but truly it is you and Thomas who are the Jedi.
Dude, this was a wrestling art film, though.
It was like wrestling performance art.
Yeah, I messaged you and said that I want to project that on the wall of an art gallery the next time I do an installation, and I genuinely
as long
feel
as there's wine.
As long as there's wine to watch. Well, but I want to loop the first 31 minutes forever, so then there's never a takedown. I don't know, just that I think while you, me, and Thomas kind of watched it simultaneously. While we were watching it, you're like, well, you draw during this, so this is
you're getting something done. You're accomplishing something.
This is just time lost for me. But
it's true.
But I stopped drawing and just watched the stare down and got chills multiple times. I don't know what it was about it, but I think because I went in not knowing what to expect, not ever having watched
I don't think anyone who
Noah,
is hearing this and then goes to watch it is going to have the experience that you did, already knowing that they stare down for 30 minutes. I think that kind of maybe depletes it a little bit.
Oh, you think that part of the tension build
would just be not knowing how long it was going to go on for.
And not expecting anything. I went into it the way that I go into most movies I'm excited about, where I try not to see the trailers, I try not to read synopsises, I just go in and experience the movie and see what happens. That's how I went into this wrestling match. And it was fun going to a wrestling match in this way, because I feel like we go into wrestling matches with all of our opinions about wrestling and the things that we like. And with this, because I don't have context, because I don't know anything about Pro Wrestling Noah, it was interesting. I think that's part of what I enjoed about it. There was nothing for me to kind of connect with, and it was just this pure moment of tension that I just I really liked it a lot. I don't know.
I mean, I get that feeling because that's why I enjoy watching the GCW and just learning about a bunch of, because I knew, I think maybe one character going in, and that was Nick Gage. And the same with NJPW, whenever I see someone, it was Taiji Shimori was my new discovery of this tournament. I'd never seen him before, and now I'm I fucking love this guy. So I do love that sense of discovery and not really knowing what's going to happen.
And I think because we're constantly consuming so much wrestling, it's a pretty rare moment for me personally as a viewer to have that experience of I don't know anything about any of these people or anything that we're seeing, so I'm in on this weird art house wrestling match that I agree. I don't think that it is, the second half is a very great match. I wanted more. I wanted the tension to build to Suzuki and
a breaking point.
Yeah, Suzuki Nagata, and it built to kind of just a random COVID match. It at least felt to me. But yeah, it's been...
well, John watched this match, so you don't have to.
No, everyone should go out and seek out that match. I feel like I'm going to think about that match for so long.
I don't want people to take, if they should watch one match from this podcast, to take that match, because I think they might stop listening to the podcast.
I don't know, man. It's great.
Should we move into the actual quarterfinals of the New Japan Cup?
Yes. Finally, you and I have watched this separately, so we've not really talked to each other about our opinions on any of these matches, really, which is kind of a rare thing for both of us, because I feel like even throughout the weeks of the New Japan Cup, we have like talked a little bit about what we've been watching, but this week, I feel like was maybe the first week where we didn't talk too much about these matches. The very first match, I think maybe was my favorite match of the quarter and semifinals. Hiromu versus Ishii. What did you think, Mark?
Yeah, I am just looking through the list. Yeah, I agree. I think that was the best match of the quarters and the semis. I loved this matchup. I love the idea of Takahashi being able to go blow for blow with Ishii, and just being a match about the fact that the Super Juniors can hang with the heavyweights. Like, that was my main takeaway from this match. It was like, just because Takahashi is diminutive in size compared to Ishii, not necessarily height, but certainly like mass and build, doesn't mean that he can't withstand Ishii's crazy chops and blows. And, eventually it might take him a little bit longer, but he can get Ishii down.
Yeah, and he basically overall Hiromu out agilities Ishii. Like, Hiromu's combination of speed and power together is what takes down Ishii, because Ishii, not that Ishii's a one-dimensional performer, but like he is a tank, he's a hoss, he's a heavy person that has a very set of moves that I feel like he's coming to this match with, whereas he's the ticking time bomb, he's more volatile, he's more versatile in how he can work.
More adaptable.
Yeah, it's easier for him to adapt, and I find it. I thought he was going to win. Like, in my bracket, I had Hiromu winning this, and it's just so cool to see him win a match. And I wasn't, while watching it though, like the way it started, I wasn't sure if he would actually win while I was watching.
No, because Ishii was dominating for most of the first half of the match, and then it felt like Taka started to build momentum. Oddly enough, when he was the most tired. Like, he got hit one point at stiff forearm, I think, and he just gets up and he starts like kind of screaming, and you can tell he's got no energy, but his determination is racked up to like 1,000%, and eventually he does rally the energy. He keeps going for those lariats, and eventually he does take Ishii down.
Well, and there's like throughout the entire match, Ishii keeps trying to do a brainbuster on Hiromu, and it stalls, and then Hiromu flips forward out of it. He can never get Hiromu up to that vertical stall that he usually holds people at, to then drop them down for the brainbuster, which I thought was such a cool detail of that match, where it's like that moment and instance is the thing that's keeping Ishii from beating Hiromu. Finishing him. Yeah. Hiromu, no matter how many times Ishii puts him up in the brainbuster, I think I counted like 3 or 4 times. Each time Hiromu found his way out of it and then like evaded Ishii's attacks. And
totally,
I find it interesting that in this match that they did book him to win, because if you remember back to the G1 last year, Will Ospreay's big storyline going into it was like, I am going to beat all the heavyweights. And he loses to like everybody. Like, his first loss.
Him
he lost
and
on the
Zack
first
Sabre
night.
Jr. took a bunch of losses.
Yeah, he lost to like Lance Archer at the Dallas G1, and that was like the start of Lance Archer's big like kind of redemption, and maybe not redemption, his big ascendance push to where he's at now. But yeah, at the end of this match, I can't believe Hiromu is able to pick Ishii up. Also, like.
Yeah, he time bombs him.
Yeah.
That was amazing. The moment I really enjoyed was where he sort of has to use Ishii's moves against him and just like headbutts.
Oh
Ishii.
My gosh, that headbutt was sick. Oftentimes, we've talked about this a few times, either headbutts are real and it's like strong style going a little too far, or they look kind of like soft and like that's just it's funny he did a headbutt. It's not, but that headbutt, like the force that Hiromu jumps forward with, kind of, is it looked very like it looked like there was a lot of like impact behind it, despite it probably being like ultimately safe.
Yeah, totally. Well, because he didn't do it forehead to forehead, he kind of like hit him in the face almost with his head, as I recall.
Yeah, and
it was awesome. And then he clotheslines him and takes him
oh,
down.
dude, yeah, that whole string of moves, dude. Ishii also is like the unsung MVP. I mean, this I feel like every New Japan knows this, but like Ishii, I feel like is the unsung MVP of that roster. Like, can you think of a time where we've watched Ishii together or separately where you haven't just absolutely enjoyed the match? Like,
no, and I'm starting to realize that most of the matches I've enjoyed in this tournament are like strong style matches. Like our favorite matches were like Nagata and Suzuki
and Makabe, Ishii,
yeah, Makabe, Ishii,
all the hard hitting. Matches are great.
So, but yeah, we love this one. A- for me, A from John, A-. I
just gotta say too, like, not to jump ahead, but just Hiromu's entire sort of personality kind of coming back too, where he's screaming, like how he screams at Okada at the start of his match with Okada, and just the different like yells and shouts he's doing in these matches. Man, it's so cool.
It's good to see that back after him cowering like a dog against the least intimidating person on the New Japan roster.
But they redeemed him, right?
They did. You as you said would happen did happen.
Also, not to take a break for a second and make this an episode of We Love Action Figures, but have you seen the Hiromu action figure? It looks so cool.
I hope it doesn't have those tights he wore throughout this tournament. I don't like those tights.
I don't mind them.
I love when you repeat what I say, but like sadder. You're like, you don't like those tights?
What's wrong with the tights? No, I think they do. I think he always has colorful tights. But yes, is it Super 7?
I usually like them, but
I think it's Super 7 that's making them. Ishii has been on pre-order for like a year. It's hard for me to order something that takes that long to get to me. I mean, I know we're doing a Torture Act pre-order, but like that pre-order was open
only a couple months.
Well,
right?
Not even a couple months. It closed. I mean, you could still pre-order it if you want. I left them up because we have enough to send out. But like the pre-orders opened 2 weeks ago, and then everything will ship 2 weeks from now. So it's like a month turnaround. And I mean, I realize like a publication is easier to make than an action figure, but I'm also just like one person in a studio, not a massive action figure company. So it's like interesting that some of them take so long to make, but they look so cool. I'll buy Ishii whenever he's released. He comes with a Never belt and a t-shirt and a dented chair. Very sick.
He's going to slap the shit out of the wrestlers on your shelf.
Oh my god, yeah. Bloody Gang, Gangrel, Bam Bam, Wooden Bam Bam, and all
You're going to get home and they're all going to be on the ground just holding their chest.
They're all done for.
Done.
Oh my god.
We had
how sad.
Evil versus Yoshihashi. Oh man. This made me sad, bro. After becoming a Yoshihashi fan in the last...
Yeah, he tries so hard.
He does try so hard. You pretty much knew what was going to happen as soon as Evil walked in with like the biggest scythe I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I mean that Evil's entrance... Also, on the action figure tip, Evil's action figure looks so cool.
Evil would be probably my world heavyweight champion in my... self-booked
in your in the downstairs arena.
That's right.
Yeah, like that his action figure comes with his hood, his scythe, and a bunch of other accessories. Probably a Tai Chi level of accessories. This match I felt was hard to watch knowing Yoshihashi.
Not really
hurt.
A match.
It wasn't necessarily a match. More so as like a goodbye, potential goodbye to Yoshihashi. Did you read that this is maybe a career-ending injury?
I had hoped it was not that bad, but yeah, I did see that.
I mean, I don't know how I read that on a website, so who knows how true it is, but it seems like
honestly, the rub that would give to Evil on this would be the heat it would give to him is huge, because I thought this was only going to go on for a minute. Just he puts the chair, he puts Yoshihashi's knee in a chair and smashes it over and over again. But then he was kicking him in the knee, then he puts him in the Scorpion Deathlock. And just holds it for so long, and Yoshihashi screams and screams. Man, I don't think he did not tap out, right? Like it was referee stoppage.
Yeah, ref stopped it. Yeah, poor Yoshihashi. So. I was sold on him in that match he had with who do you fight? Bushi?
Bushi, yeah.
Yeah, his match with Bushi was really good, and
Well, yeah, because of his knee snapping back and that becoming the narrative of that match. But it was sad to lose him.
yeah, and then the next New Japan Cup match we got was a very, very sick Okada versus Ishimori match. What did you think of that?
I thought that Ishimori came in looking like Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, totally, dude. They need to. Bullet Club needs. I don't know. New Japan just needs to release like a figure of everybody.
Absolutely.
Seems like it's interesting that because Super 7's just an American toy company that's releasing those figures of New Japan wrestlers. It's interesting that they just send out licenses to companies, but they don't ever make action figures. And I would be interested to know, I've not looked this up too much, but it is interesting to think about the fact that like most of the companies that make action figures for New Japan wrestlers historically have always been just like an outside company working with them, rather than it being kind of like
internal.
Yeah, or even just like initiated by New Japan. I mean, I realize like Jack Specific,
Right.
Hasbro, whatever. There's always an outside toy company, but like seems like New Japan would push that more because everyone is so clearly ready, or not ready, so clearly an action figure through the history of this. But this match was probably one of my most anticipated matches of my own bracket. From when I filled out the bracket, I wrote down Okada versus Ishimori here, hoping that it would happen, and it did. And this match over-delivered, I would say.
I loved how I didn't love it. I don't know why I said that. Kevin Kelly's commentary is mixed too low during the entrances, and he's talking. Oh, I have no idea what he's saying. So
it was really. There was a few moments where that's happened, and I mean
that
now
happened
it's probably
throughout
like
this.
them trying to get the episodes out fast, so they don't have time to listen to it back. But yeah,
it was an issue during the entrances on this night, but yeah, it was great to see them together. Like Ishimori's like so cool, but then you put him next to Okada and you can see the height difference.
Oh yes, I didn't. I mean, I know Okada's like a big wrestler, but I don't know. Yeah, he's towered over Hiromu and over Ishimori.
Yeah, like Okada looks just like a normal kind of wrestler, and so does Taiji, but then you put them together and you realize, oh, Okada's he's so lithe and he's such an athlete that he looks like he's like a super junior, but he's not.
No.
He's a big guy.
What did you think of that Hulk Hogan style boot Okada threw to Ishimori's face? The very first move of the match? Like, oh, that was so sick. It also made him seem even he seems like a giant compared to Ishimori.
Yeah, Okada looked so strong in this tournament. Like, he was just a man.
I felt like
through.
Throughout the whole tournament, I don't know, I'm not sure, Mark, if you felt this way too, but it felt like Okada's like wrestling like a slightly tweaked style that kind of reminded me of like early 90s WWF superstars like Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan.
Well, he's moved to the Cobra Clutch as his finisher throughout this tournament, which is very interesting.
And the way he threw that boot was very Hogan-esque. There is in his Hiromu match too that he throws some elbows that kind of remind me of Randy Savage. Just seems like he's kind of accessing a different moveset for this tournament. In
back to basics Okada. Yeah,
in a way that he hasn't before. Yeah, back to basics Okada. I mean, it makes sense.
Well, I mean, he hasn't fought anyone like Kenny Omega throughout this tournament, right? So he hasn't had to be the best bout machine kind of.
That's a good point too. Version. That's interesting. Okada is so good that he doesn't unleash the wild moveset that he has for this tournament, because he's wrestling people he never wrestles, like Ishimori, Gedo. Yeah, who has he wrestled? Gedo, Ishimori, Nagata. That's everyone so far, right? And then Hiromu.
That's everyone so far. And then Hiromu, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like he's wrestling all of these people that are not in his league. Like Gedo's a manager, Nagata is a dad, Ishimori and Hiromu are super juniors. So I guess it does make sense that it's cool that he's bringing this sort of like early 90s superstars-esque wrestling style to this tournament, because he doesn't have to use his typical moveset.
He is awesome. He's the best. He's killing it. I love Taiji's sliding German suplex out of the ring.
Oh, that was so cool. Yeah. incredible. It's where he like
He's so good.
runs, slides under Okada, he sets Okada up on the ropes, runs to the other rope, slides under Okada's legs, and then flips him back for the German suplex. It's such a cool move that it's not something that you see very often from anyone, really.
No, he's awesome. And he also did a moonsault from the second rope into a reverse DDT on Okada ringside, where he was in control for a brief period of time.
Yeah, he where he got the upper hand. I the whole time I did not think there was any way that Ishimori was going to win this, but the points where he did get the upper hand were so fun to watch. There's another moment where he ducks a boot off of Okada and does this like tilt-a-whirl all around Okada's body to what looks like kind of like up to a Hurricane Rana, but then wraps around Okada's back, slams Okada down into a yes lock, and then it's like wrenching a yes lock. And it's just such a cool moment, and Okada's like panting and screaming. I can't believe also, it's just crazy how strong all these people are. Ishimori was able to get Okada up for that double knee drop also.
Well, Ishimori is shredded.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. He is small, but very muscular.
He seems like, to me, he seems like a mini Okada.
Yes, that's a good comparison. He's someone that I hope stays in New Japan also.
Oh, me too. I think he could be a top star. Like, imagine him even more jacked, putting on even more mass.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like, well, I'm just imagining like Kenta going to WWE and then kind of not really being used and then coming back and being like a massive star that he is now. Similarly, I think the same thing probably would happen to Ishimori. He'd go there, get water.
Do you think Kenta's massive? I don't think he's quite massive yet.
I think he is like, he went from being on the opener of the Royal Rumble to challenging for the IWGP Championship and getting like big featured moments and matches.
Certainly they've been using him well and they've been positioning him strong.
And I just don't know if to me, he is one of the players of New Japan. Yes, wouldn't call him a pillar of the company, but to me, he's like slightly above the level of like people like maybe Evil, who is in the finals of this tournament, and Sonata and some of the other ancillary sort wrestlers in New Japan. It's like Kenta,
but he's below like Jay White, I would say.
Oh, yes. Jay White is the heel. I miss seeing Jay. Man, I miss Jay White in this tournament. He would have been.
Did you see the bracket? Sorry, I sent it to you really late. I was up till like 4 a.m. last night, but I sent the original New Japan Cup bracket, and there was about 15 wrestlers who had to be replaced in the tournament.
Yes, I have it up here. I left it up because I thought we might talk about it on here. It's interesting to see the original bracket. We had Okada facing Jay White. I think Okada still would have won that. It's interesting going back and looking at that bracket and seeing like, oh, we still would have got to the same place.
Yes.
One person that would not have been there though was Hiromu. So do you think?
Oh.
So in that first tier, the original bracket had Makabe versus Jeff Cobb and Ishii versus Toa Henare. So Ishii would have won. Maybe Makabe would have won. Then Ishii would have won. And then in the other side, where Hiromu would have been, we had Colt Cabana versus Bad Luck Fale and Yano versus Chase Owens. So I think we might have had Ishii going the distance up until Okada, and then Okada beating Ishii, and then moving on.
Who is Will Ospreay facing?
Will Ospreay was facing Shingo. So it would have been Sonata and Will Ospreay in the second round. And Sonata would have probably won that, I would say. I don't know.
I could have seen maybe Ospreay in like the Takahashi position.
Well, knowing now the devastating news that Sonata is not in the finals, despite how much I've talked about the story implications of him getting to the finals for the last 2 weeks, I guess that Will Ospreay might have eliminated him in the second round and then gone on to face. They would have done that. Ospreay would have eliminated him because then that would have meant Ospreay would have gone on to face Ibushi. Or could have gone on to face Ibushi. I guess Taichi beat Ibushi, though, so who knows?
I was just reading the IWGP Champions list yesterday, and I totally forgot that Kota Ibushi has never won the big belt.
No, yeah, not yet. His time is coming.
His time is coming, and I like I said, I think we're at the sort of middle of his long-term story. Like 2 Wrestle Kingdoms from now, probably, he will have a huge coronation. and it will feel something because he won the G1, went on to face Okada night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom, and then lost. So it'll be kind of his redemption story, much the same as we had with Naito last year. But I just thought that was interesting that he's because I think of him as one of kind of the big five of New Japan, along with Okada, Naito, Tanahashi.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah,
big four.
That's like the internet accepted big four of New Japan for sure.
Yeah, so it's just interesting that he hasn't won the big prize yet. I look forward to that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it maybe had to do with the fact that he was not signed full time up until recently.
Right.
So I think they were leery of putting any sort of belt on him. But and also though, in retrospect, just thinking back to his matches over the last year, that's just the way that he's been booked. There's been other people in the higher spots than he was. He's been a heavily featured person, just not someone that's been given a huge belt yet. And
also, we just have to commend NJPW's ability to build people while keeping them on sort of the back or side burner.
Yeah.
And not letting them just kind of fizzle out like they do in WWE when they don't get that top spot.
I think there's not, maybe the thing, that's the thing that I love about New Japan is there's not a single person on the roster that doesn't feel important.
I think it's because there are so many there's the New Japan Cup, Super Junior Cup, G1 Climax. There's so many different things for people to succeed in. There's several different belts. So and they do such a good job building all those matches that none of them feel like the European Championship. The never open weight is probably the lowest in the pecking order, and it still feels like a big belt.
Totally. Yeah. It does really. And
because it's a different stipulations. This is specifically where Super Juniors and heavyweights fight.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that they're able to do that, because even the young lions throughout this tournament that fought, Gabriel Kidd is memorable to me, the young lion that's very much a Oni Lorcan type energy. And
yeah, he was awesome in the 6-man tags as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, the final match of this night, Sonata versus Taichi. What did you think?
I thought it was fine.
You knew the outcome of this match.
I did know
going
the outcome.
Into it, right?
That definitely hampered my ability to enjoy it, because there would have been a lot of tension towards us feeling like Sonata had to advance, but oh shit, maybe Taichi was actually gonna pull this one out. And Taichi going through this entire tournament and using all these heel tactics that have just infuriated Kevin Kelly. I just have a note here. This is a general note about wrestling. Why can't refs just half turn? You know what I mean? They turn their full back distracted. To the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I feel like they should be wearing a fucking Michael Keaton Batman suit for the fact that they cannot look to the side whatsoever. It's full back to the action, full front to this person distracting. Why can't you just go like this? Stand sideways. I gotta go to look at both things here. Oh, you're not fucking around, but you're not fucking around either. I don't know. I hate when that happens and it's the clincher of a match.
Yes.
It just drives me crazy.
I agree with that. And also in these empty arena shows, if someone's yelling on the other side of the ring, you're gonna see and hear it.
You're gonna hear it, yeah.
And see both the distraction and whatever is happening because of the distraction. Also, to your point, you would think that by now, for refs going into a match, they would know
with Taichi.
They would know the person on the side is there to distract the ref. It's a trope within wrestling that's a little, at this point,
it's dusty.
Yeah.
There needs to be when those moments backfire, it's satisfying because it's a reversion of what you think it's going to be. The subversion of the normal result. But yeah, for me, this was a skippable match.
Wow. Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat because Sonata, who I was all in on, at the end of this night, I was in second place, first place with my bracket in the 50-person bracket tournament I was in. I'm definitely not now
it fell apart.
Completely fell apart. But this match, this match, I just really enjoyed the build to it. And just with Taichi, I like the thing that I like a lot about Taichi is that they've built him and booked him in a way where he now is someone that could win a big match if he has to. Like, out of nowhere.
He's becoming Jay White.
Yeah, he's volatile, and New Japan will at some point give Taichi a big upset win. Like, I just can see him potentially with the Intercontinental title later this year, maybe taking it off of Naito. Seems like a possibility.
I still want the winner of this match to face Naito in a two falls match, like they did when Kurt Angle was Intercontinental and European champion.
Oh, they did a two falls match?
They did a two falls match against Jericho. Yeah, and he lost both of his belts and didn't even get pinned, and he was furious. But that was a triple threat.
Who is Kurt Angle versus
I want to say Jericho and somebody else.
That sounds cool. I'm gonna go back to watch that. I've never seen that.
John Vamp while I look this up.
Yeah, that match. Well, and speaking of double champions, I watched the NXT Great American Bash title match. I didn't watch all of NXT, but I watched Keith Lee versus Adam Cole. And if you're listening and haven't seen that, I would go back and watch that match. It's great to see Keith Lee get his coronation, even though we all knew the results going into that match since the results were leaked. It's annoying that happened because this match would have been even better not knowing that Keith Lee won, and then Keith Lee wins because at the end he's crying, he's holding the belts up. Keith Lee.
Do you think this was a fake leak?
What?
I don't mean to go all Joe Rogan on you.
What do you mean?
But I feel like they planted this image themselves because it just seems inexplicable that someone would be so stupid as to put this on social media. Feels like that was an accidental to make sure people were tuning in for that moment so they could see it.
Oh, so like a Mankind is winning the WWF Championship on WCW
yes, except
sort of
that
scenario?
Except that was from the competition and it backfired because people
Right.
wanted to see it.
Yes.
And but yes, essentially yes.
Like a worked version of that, I'm saying. Yeah. Interesting. Yes, it seems like there's
it feels
no one
inexplicable
could be
that you could take a picture of a match that's going to air in like 2 weeks, the ending, and then just post it like
well,
that.
and who would do that to Keith Lee too? Like, why would you take that moment away? Like, expose the moment too? You are right. Yes, I think that's probably true.
I feel like that was a guarantee that they were going to win the night
to see Keith Lee's coronation. Yeah, the match is sick. Keith Lee flies through the that glass barricade that they have. And it shatters everywhere. He staggers, gets back in the ring, and him and Adam Cole just go back and forth. It's a classic NXT takeover match on NXT TV. Absolutely worth watching. Adam Cole hits him with
and watch it.
Every finisher that he has. Can't put Keith Lee down, and Keith Lee ultimately wins. Yeah, you will love it. It'll definitely be an A from you, I would think. It's a really cool match.
I'm looking forward to it. I did look up the other one. I could have just guessed that it was obviously Chris Benoit.
Oh, so with Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle?
Yeah, and it was at WrestleMania 2000.
Oh.
Benoit won the first fall, got the Intercontinental Championship, and then Jericho won the second fall, got the European Championship. And Kurt Angle was left with nothing, and he was pissed.
That's interesting. Wow. Well, I wonder, because I watched that live. I guess maybe I didn't like Jericho when I was a kid. Jericho, out of all those three, is the only person I cared about. So
interesting.
Maybe that's why I don't really remember that match too well. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Kurt Angle or Benoit as a kid. They both were boring to me. As I've said in other podcasts, Al Snow was my favorite WWF wrestler. So.
Well, he had, so.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Sonata Taichi, throughout it, I wasn't sure who was going to win. Ultimately, Sonata pulls it out. And then afterwards, I was like, dude, Sonata, here it is. Sonata, he gets his moment and is going on to the semifinals to beat his tag team partner, Evil. And then he's going to go on to win. And then he'll lose to his leader, Naito, at the Minion. But then I didn't think about the fact that this is New Japan and Gedo is a master storyteller and isn't going to give it to us that simply. Sonata is being booked how Naito was booked over the last 2 years as a loser that can't pull out the big wins. He's down and out. He's not winning titles. nothing's going right for him. And then eventually, I bet you... So my prediction is Sonata wins the Intercontinental title later this year, actually. I know I just said I could see Taichi taking it off of him. I do feel that way. But I think ultimately, if I'm placing money on it, Sonata is who gets the Intercontinental title at some point this year. Most likely. Unless...
I buy that.
Unless they make Sonata challenge and lose, and they continue to book him in this way. Because so many other people that I know that are New Japan fans were so sold on Sonata... This being Sonata's tournament too.
Yeah, you sold me on it, like to the point where I was watching everything under that lens. And so when Sonata lost to Evil, spoiler alert, in the semifinals, I was kind of crushed.
Yeah, what did you think all the way up to the end of that? How were you feeling? Like, did you think Sonata was going to win that match still as you were watching it?
Absolutely. Yeah, because Evil was playing those heel tactics at the start. Sonata extends his hand for the handshake. Evil pretends to do it, goes for the everything is evil. Sonata reverses, goes for the skull end.
You know who
Evil...
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say Evil puts Sonata's head in the chair and rams it into the turnbuckle and it exploded.
Yeah,
that was brutal.
That was really brutal.
Yeah, so I did think Evil was going to get his comeuppance in this match.
You know who I felt like was not really on point in this match?
Kevin Kelly?
Yes. How did you know I was going to say that?
I just guessed.
I mean, there's only like four, like maybe 3 or 4.
Well, because Evil and Sonata were fantastic.
Yes.
So I was pretty sure it wasn't them. I don't know if it was Red Shoes.
What did you think of his commentary in this match?
I don't remember it.
Okay, so it's forgettable to you. And to me, I feel like he didn't sell it as like the blood feud that it was. Like, I don't think that there was a time where he does what he normally does, where it's like, oh my god, these are tag partners. They never fight. Evil and Sonata they both want this opportunity. I love Kevin Kelly. He's my favorite commentator in all of wrestling. I was just surprised by the sort of kind of casual nature of the call. Because earlier on in the mixed tag matches, which were both awesome, Suzuki-gun versus Tanahashi, Gabriel Kidd, Nagata, and Bushi, and also Goto Sho, Ishii versus LIJ, he's like popping off throughout all of those, like
do you
going
think he's
crazy.
Just burnt out, man?
I think so. In that first match, both of those matches are also worth going back and watching. He calls Minoru Suzuki the Surgeon General of Torture.
We need to have Suzuki on Torture Wracked.
True.
He has to be our first guest. I refuse to have any guests until the first one is
one
Suzuki,
of us needs to learn how to speak Japanese for that to happen, but
okay.
Maybe that can happen. That's a future goal, personal goal of mine to actually learn how to do that. So, maybe.
All right. Well, it's on you then.
Torture Racked episode 425. We can do that. So, and like
if our patrons will pay for our Japanese education,
that could happen. But
no guest till then. He's the first.
He's the first, and until I learn how to speak Japanese well enough to where I can fluently
conversational
have an
Japanese. Yeah. Shouldn't be a problem. Seems like a pretty easy language.
It's about a realistic time frame for that. I failed Spanish classes horribly, so I don't know if my brain is very much set up to learn other languages. We'll see about that.
Que pasa, John? Que pasa?
I mean, okay, but
that's just my favorite tortilla brand.
Oh, that's funny. But anyways, Sonata lost. I can't believe it. I'm upset.
Man, Sonata lost in more than one way. He got dropped right in his fucking head during this match.
Yeah, Kevin Kelly calls it a stinger, points out that looked like it was... I mean, doesn't need to point it out. We could visually see that it was very much...
Like, he put his arm out and he probably stopped himself from breaking his neck, but he still must have compressed a little bit. Looked brutal. Sonata gets in... Then Evil puts Sonata into a submission right after that. I thought they were going straight for the finish.
And see, there's a moment towards the end where Sonata got Skull End wrenched it, then took a break to hit a moonsault, and I thought that the moonsault was going to be the win, and then Evil gets his knees up and wins.
Throws Sonata into the ref twice, knocks him out.
I have
a chair.
I have in all caps in my notes. I can't believe Evil wins. Why wasn't Kevin Kelly selling this feud more? Everything is evil? ?
I have written in big letters the moment where, after that fucking horrible head landing, Evil puts a chair around Sonata's head and baseball slams it with another chair out of the ring.
Ugh.
It looks so brutal.
But yeah, this match was great, and the next match
Excellent
too,
excellent
Okada
match.
versus Hiromu. I mentioned earlier Hiromu just from the start screaming Okada.
Okada!
I loved that. It's such a cool
it.
moment. This whole match was so good.
It was amazing. More of what we were saying about Okada, like he can spend some of the match losing, but then there's always that just perfect moment where he takes back control, like you said, usually with a drop kick.
Yeah, he had quite a
Rainmaker.
few huge missile drop kicks where his hang time is insane. Like
Yeah, man.
yeah, no drop kick in the business is better than Okada's.
This dude is the Michael Jordan of drop kicks.
Yeah, he's the Michael Jordan of wrestling for sure.
I loved the moment where Takahashi shotgun drop kicks Okada, who's sitting on the top turnbuckle, and sends him to the outside. That was huge.
That was sick. Yes. And throughout this match too, we have Okada working in that same sort of WWF Superstars classic style that I feel, at least for me as a viewer of New Japan, is a departure for him. And I do think it is mostly just a psychology sort of thing where he doesn't have to pull out all of his big moves because he didn't even use the Rainmaker until the end of this match.
Right. On the contrary, Hiromu once again showing his adaptability by taking the move of his competitor, but hits Okada with a couple of Rainmakers. And I honestly thought he was going to pin Okada with the Rainmaker, and I was shocked.
Yeah, that Rainmaker.
Absolutely shocked.
He hits a Rainmaker to a time bomb. I thought that might be it there, but it was not it. And then secondarily watching this, see, I did not think Hiromu was going to win this actually at all going into it because...
You didn't?
No, and I know I had him in the finals in my bracket, but had I known that this was going to be broadcast on TV in Japan, I would have had Okada going all the way to the end for sure.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Just because Okada is New Japan. There's no way Okada is going to lose on live TV. That's like one of the first times they've been broadcast during this time, during like prime time on live TV in Japan. It's just like, there's no way. Like if
so you're telling me Okada's going to take this tournament?
Well, no, that was just that part of the Dominion's not going to be, or the New Japan Cups, I don't think is being broadcast on TV. I think it was just that match at that moment was.
Oh, I didn't understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, for some reason that event was. I don't know if the next event's going to be as well. If the next event is too, I think that Okada is going to win. If it's not broadcast, then I think Evil's going to win.
The two final possibilities I had were Okada Sonata or Evil Hiromu. I did not have this combination of Okada Evil.
Yeah, who do you think is going to win?
I think Okada is going to win for the second year in a row?
Yeah, I can't.
I don't see Evil in that spot. I don't know what it is.
But I also don't see Okada. Like, are they going to have a rematch that soon again? I guess if they want to make Naito
I think they look really strong. Like he's going to defend off the same way he defended off, the same way Okada defended off Naito several times, like in the early 2010s.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, if they want to give him the clean, easy win, there's no way Evil's taking both belts off of him. Like, if Evil wins this, I do not foresee that would be an insanely weird upset for Evil to win both belts.
Well, it's like, looking at it, there's absolutely no chance that if Evil was fighting for both belts, he would win.
No.
Like 0%.
He could win the Intercontinental title if it was only one belt, but yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, he wouldn't win both. So you kind of have to go with someone who you actually believe could win that, because that would make it a bigger match, right? Which is Okada.
And I don't think Naito's losing either belt right now, so...
It sort of makes sense.
Naito wins. Yeah, we'll see. This has been so. Now that you've watched pretty much the whole tournament, but the finals, how was the entire experience of watching the New Japan Cup for you?
Oh, it was amazing. It was much more manageable than the G1. Although G1 G1 offered way more different combination of matches. Like you knew everyone was going to fight everyone in the G1, which is so exciting.
G1's a little harder to predict, also in terms of like wins and losses. It's harder to plan out like a storyline. Yeah, and then they get points for their wins and losses.
I swear to God, I was so sure like Kenta or John Moxley were going to win the G1 because they started strong and hit a couple wins, and you were like, this is the very beginning. Like, it's not even close. And then I saw the points accumulate, and they just like tumbled down the rankings.
Yeah, Mox started out strong and then
lost to Yano. Yep. That was his downfall.
Oh yeah, he got Yano'd. That was great.
But Okada, like, I love this guy. Because you remember I was saying that, you know, the Rainmaker didn't feel as big. Okada still felt big, but the Rainmaker, now just Okada feels huge again. Like, getting to the finals again, you're just like, this guy's unstoppable. Like, and everyone who wrestles him looks great, and Naito will look great putting him over, or getting put over by him. So he's my MVP of the tournament for sure.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think if I had to pick an MVP for this tournament for me, I think it would actually be Ishii.
I think Ishii in terms of match quality, but just Okada in terms of like solidifying his legacy.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But you know, you're right. Ishii had 2 of the 3 biggest bangers for sure.
To switch gears entirely, last weekend we watched GCW The Backyard II and had the best time. I was gonna say the best time ever. One of my favorite. It's like definitely a big. It was a lot of fun watching that with the two of you last week.
Totally. This me and Thomas actually got together and watched this. Myself and Thomas's enormous dog, whose name I can't recall, but whose enthusiasm I will remember forever.
His name is Max.
Max. Got a lot of energy.
Gigantic white dog.
Gigantic dog. Love him. Love a good floof. Yeah, had a great time. You know, maybe the match quality of this one, I'm not sure if it was as good as the World Part 2. I might have to look that up. But I thought the atmosphere was even better. The World was outside in like a national park.
Yeah.
In a ring. And this was actually someone's backyard, to the point where at one point someone from the match ends up in a pool that just has a bunch of kids in it.
Yeah, Alley Cat, or not Alley Cat, knocks someone into the pool.
Yeah, Alley Cat takes
Denver, Colorado. I love that everyone had nicknames throughout all of this.
Yes, everyone was using their like old nicknames, to the point where we were trying to figure out if Ricky Crash was Ricky Shane Page.
Right, and there was a point where the commentator said Nick Gage was upset about being called Hard Ass Nick. Like, I don't think that was ever that some of the nicknames were just made up for the show, and he implied that Nick Gage was not happy, like doesn't want to be called like, my name's Nick fucking Gage. Why are you calling me Hard Ass Nick?
Wow, he's a little bit of a hard ass, don't you think?
Which is why, because he, like, the commentator introduces his crew as that, and then Nick Gage stops.
Nick should have taken the mic and been like, I'm not! That's not my name! I'm Nick fucking Gage!
He kind of did that, because then
I didn't go to prison to be whatever the fuck you just called me.
Oh my god. Yeah, man, the whole atmosphere and event was great. Cool that there was an in-ground pool, but then also a secondary pool next to the ring, a trampoline. Dude, Logan's stunt, the moves that he did off of the trampoline were insane. That moment where he's like up on the tree branch, drops down.
Yes.
Jumps up,
Ranas.
Frankensteiner to huge rollover cutter through the door that's on the ground. Off of a trampoline.
The doors were not
breaking
for anybody during this event.
No.
Doors took a stand.
Yes.
But yeah, there was also an abandoned car, which apparently belonged to somebody who I can't remember, that a bunch of people did moves on, and eventually detonated fireworks into.
Yeah, and kind of furthering your what were we watching where you made the comparison, the Street Fighter comparison, where it's like, that's what that really bringing that vignette to
it
life.
Was it was one of the matches, like a Haas off, maybe it was like Maccabee thing, but you talked about how the stiff blows by Ishii could crumble a marble statue to dust, which apparently has become part of your vernacular now, which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I said that it could completely destroy the car from Street Fighter 2 in like one blow.
I really like the visual of that being, that should be the next Never Openweight title match. Goto versus Ishii versus Maccabee.
Car.
Who destroys the car first? or most wins. They have health bars.
That would be rad. And like the car was brought into such cool spots. Like during the opening match, Alex Zane versus Ricky Crash. Alex Zane does a somersault bomb off the car.
Yeah. Yeah, at various points throughout it. Oh my gosh, yeah, where he like actually like he clears the whole car. He sentons over the car.
Yeah.
Alex Zane is insane.
Honestly, the first match was one of the best
Yes,
one of
the
best
first
ones
it
of the
actually
card.
opened the first two matches, I would say. Alex Zane versus Ricky Shane Page and Casey Quick versus Chris Dickinson / Paco Loco.
Casey Quick versus Paco Loco was dope.
Yeah, like both of those matches, the
And I don't like light tubes, but I was compelled by this one because Casey got cut open bad, like right away. Like his wrist was like gushing blood, and they didn't put the wrist tape on like right away. Like it took a little bit.
and Joey Janela kept pointing that out, that they needed to have their wrists taped up if they were going to be doing light tube spots.
Yeah, Joey Janela definitely had some choice commentary.
I love that he said
event.
the ref was way too professionally dressed for the event because he was wearing a ref shirt tucked in.
It's true. He should have been wearing like those Kevin Owens kind of shorts, like long shorts. The ones you wear to the gym when you're
totally
uncomfortable with your body. Paco Loco Death Valley driver through the wood. And it was so close to the bar of the trampoline. I was like, these guys are trying to kill each other.
Well, and I think like it's a argument for how you can use light tubes, blood, and sort of deathmatch aesthetic in a way to really like build up the stakes of the match. Because the first half of this match is very bloody, uses light tubes, classic deathmatch spots, lots of hardcore spots, lots of kind of like...
They're taping up Casey,
right, yes.
And Paco is just throwing a bunch more light tubes into the ring.
And then the second half of this match, there is so much incredible wrestling going on. Like, there's a really great intense running knee from K Quick, Avalanche Death Valley Driver from Dickinson. They're both kind of going back and forth in like almost a G. It's like a death match has took place, and now they want to put on a G1 match.
Very interesting. And yeah, they were both covered in blood. Casey Quick from his arm, and then Paco Loco from his head. As soon as he got hit by a light tube from Casey Quick, he was crimson.
Yeah, and just it really, really makes a case for why you could do this kind of match, and what it does add to the like fight. Because Casey Quick is fighting from the bottom. He's covered in blood, and I think if those stakes weren't a part of the match, it still would have been a good match, clearly, based off of the second half of the match. But I don't think it would have been as much of a standout for us had it not been booked the way it was.
Yeah, it was my match of the night, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then
I think
the next match was my least favorite match of the night, which was Nasty Leroy versus Dilf Boy Daltano. All I have written down is fucking James Ellsworth with rainbow tights.
Oh, yeah. It was fine. I don't know. Like, I think like with this kind of event, someone like Nasty Leroy and just kind of just wacky, wild matches that have wrestling but are more so just like a throwback to true backyard wrestling viewing is great that they have this kind of stuff. Like the people watching, like, I mean, it's like obviously not a standout match from a work rate or even like
not everything can be a standout match because then nothing stands out. I didn't think this card was overbooked. I didn't think that it dragged. I loved that it had an intermission just to kind of...
I like that all the GCW shows have had that.
Yeah, I enjoy that. But the next match that I really enjoyed was Combat Kid versus Tony Deppen.
Man, Tony Deppen is so sick. I love that he came out to Anti-Flag. That's really cool. And like in my mind, I have a kind of vision of what I think Tony Deppen's character is. Like that he's this like snotty punk guy that's like looks like a regular dude, but will fuck you up if you fuck with him. And him using Anti-Flag, I feel like really fleshes out that character to me in a way.
Totally.
And this was just a really good wrestling match.
Sick flying Kamiguri knee from Deppen to Combat Kid on the apron. Deppen somersaults through the ropes. Drop toe hold into the Plymouth from Deppen on Combat Kid outside the ring. Atomic drop onto the car. What Thomas pointed out it doesn't look good and it hurts a lot, which is the opposite of what you want in a wrestling move.
Yeah, totally. I gotta say, when Combat Kid entered, I was like, I don't know about this match.
Worst ring gear of all time from Combat Kid. Plastic beige shorts, striped colorful suspenders, no shirt, baseball socks, and purple green tights. Absolute worst wrestling gear I've ever seen.
Very heinous outfit.
An absolute affront to fashion.
But like had huge Terry Funk energy. For how distracting and like hilarious his outfit was, which like
it was appropriate.
It's like it's
everything was everything was to a point.
Fun to laugh at, but also like justified in that like now Tony Deppin's gonna whoop this guy's ass, and also he just like towards the end he has this sort of Combat Kid had like this like sort of staggering punches that reminded me a lot of Terry Funk. That led to like giving Tony Deppin the opening to do some really big spots, like huge swinging.
Tony
DDT.
Deppin Death Valley drivered him onto the trampoline. Mm-hmm. Combat Kid seemed to nail his head on the side,
edge. Yeah,
and still kicks out.
Man,
I enjoyed it.
I loved it. My one of my other favorite matches, and this is I feel like in GCW, I'm familiar with the core people that wrestle in GCW, but I love every time that I watch. There's always like a new person, or I mentioned when we reviewed The World, there's always something that we haven't seen before, which we talked about Logan Stunt versus KTB already. The other match to me, the other singles match that really stood out to me was Vampiro versus Dexter White. The match that tried to utilize a lot of fire and had a crazy ending that seemed ill-planned. But overall, just Vampiro's tope 630 senton to the outside was insane. And they started using the, I think maybe it was in the match before this, they started using them, but someone was sitting on commemorative NXT and WWE chairs.
That was not in this match. I don't think that was the next match because they, Joey Janela kept saying those were sports entertainment chairs. He's like, used without the express written permission of the sports entertainment chair.
Yeah, he goes through like a long, like very official sounding.
But then gets to just sports entertainment chair at the end of it.
Oh so my God.
Funny. But another fun thing that was like tying through these matches was the presence of Rat Tail, the small child with the biggest rat tail that Joey Janela has ever seen. During the Vampiro Dexter match, Joey Janela calls Rat Tail, who is standing kind of like right up close to the match. Rat Tail, like a moth drawn to flames, keeps putting himself in the line of danger. Yeah, like you said, Vampiro breathing fire. Dexter blocks it with a barbed wire board.
Whoa, GCW posted a photo of that specific spot to their Instagram, and it looks crazy. Yeah, the fireball is huge.
Vampiro breaks 2 light tubes over his head. Dexter powerbombs Vampiro into the barbed wire board. Vampiro walks the ropes, Van Terminators him across the ring, shatters the light tubes in Dexter's face.
That was crazy.
That was, until the very end, that was the scariest thing I'd seen. Just the light tubes exploding and all the dust in his face. I was... Man. At one point, they're both on the Bobcat. It's up to maximum height. I wrote, please don't go through the whole scaffold. No, please don't set it on fire before you go through the whole scaffold. So, of course, they did. But the Bobcat's not high enough. It's to fucking level it off. And
they're like almost level to provide a visual. It's like the Bobcat only can go so high, and then the scaffold is about the same height as the Bobcat. I feel like with this kind of spot, there needs to be a couple of feet below so they can have some kind of force coming down on it. But instead, they kind of have to just jump from one level to the next, and it works. And everyone walks away from this. And
they were trying to set it on fire as well, and it only picked up a very small bonfire. So it was like everything was going wrong. But the funniest thing to me was that, like, I assume it was Vampiro who was setting on fire. I can't recall, but Dexter's just standing there like waiting, and after he gets it lit, he just like, all right, now Death Valley Driver me, and he just Death Valley Drivers him. So my verisimilitude was put on hold temporarily during that match, but I still loved it personally.
You know what I hope we get in the future is a long singles match between Blake Christian and Nick Gage. Their
Oh,
spots in that scramble, the 8-man tag, towards the end of that were incredible. Like it's like this is what it would be like if Nick Gage was in the G1.
Oh man, that's so true. Nick Gage was even more particularly scary in this event. He looks like a dude that yells at the bus driver.
Yeah, he really throws down in this match, carries his team to the win.
Yeah,
uses a fish
doesn't he
hook.
take on like 4 people himself?
Yeah, at the end, he's the one. I think he gets every pin for his team.
He does. Yeah, he pile drivers Mayday Jack Williams onto the car, eliminates him.
Oh yeah.
He pile drivers Jordan Oliver in the ring, eliminates him. He Kid Grapple coast to coast drop kicks a door into Gage's face.
Right. Yes, and then
Sports Entertainment chair.
then throws down a huge avalanche pile driver on Nick Gage, but Gage kicks out of it and then hits him with the choke breaker for the 3 count. Blake Christian is out, then pits
Jimmy
the
Lloyd
2
and
team
Nick
captains, Jimmy Lloyd and Nick Gage, one-on-one at the end there, trading blows.
Sitting on Sports Entertainment chairs, exchanging punches. They were both just sitting down and like leaning forward as if they were in like an AA meeting and just punching each other in the face. And eventually, like you said, Jimmy Lloyd's on the turnbuckle. Nick Gage, dear God, no, fish hooks him in the mouth
with a fish hook and fishing rod,
and then just like pulls him off the top rope, and he does a front flip.
Then does a duo of pile drivers for the 3 count and wins. Nick Gage is one of my favorite current wrestlers by
I honestly
far
can't
margin.
believe how much I'm enjoying all this stuff. Like, I really didn't think I would enjoy all this as much as I am.
You mean GCW in general?
Just like hardcore matches.
Yeah, they're all done in a way where most of the spots are either earned or used in a way where it doesn't feel gratuitous. Like, it feels like there's some like psychology, because earlier on in one of the other matches there was that barbed wire board.
Yes.
And throughout it became this whole dance around who was going to get thrown into the barbed wire board first. And I think when you use weapons like that to like really build a story, like it's like the same thing as like working a knee in the 1980s.
Speaking of not gratuitous, the last match, El Schlocko versus JJ Escobar.
Dude,
at this point,
intro of this match, holy shit.
Roman candle, baby. Biggest pyro you've ever seen.
That was awesome. Oh my gosh, that entrance again. Now a second main event entrance. So far with this podcast, we've watched GCW The World and GCW The Backyard. Each main event has had an incredible entrance, because the World entrance was Nick Gage putting Nate Webb through the table and then letting the announcer run down his call out at the beginning with the whole crowd screaming it. This one, out of nowhere, Schlock just comes out shooting Roman candles, and the crowd has to run away because they're going to get hit with fireworks.
They have to disperse.
Yeah.
At this point in the night, this is where Joey Janela questioned his choices in GCW and also CZW, and just kind of the level of violence and insanity he's brought a few times. Yeah, I think it was when Schlocko ran over Escobar with his car. Joey Janela was like, "Why am I associated with this?" And then at this point,
he hits him with his car, and actually, like,
he hits him with his car. He goes up.
He hits him with the car.
It wasn't worked like when Sammy Guevara hit the
yes.
golf cart. It was just like, at what speed can I hit you with my car that you're going to be okay?
And apparently, like, in the aftermath, like, I watched, for those of you that are very into GCW as we are, as much of fans as we are, if you pay attention to their Instagram, Brett Lauderdale's been posting GCW merch sales where he goes on Facebook Live and just sells, like, from their inventory different merch and different things that aren't listed on their web store. And it was really, as someone who loves buying wrestling merch and someone that like gets a lot of, like, thinks he's funny as a commentator, like, it's great to watch. I would highly recommend. I watched the whole, it was like 2 hours, maybe the whole 2 hours of him doing it. But yeah,
learn to draw, everybody, is all I can say. So you can get something good done while you're
watching Brett Lauderdale sell things on Facebook. Well, but anyways, I started saying that because someone asks if JJ Escobar is okay, and he mentions that he was fine. Well, at first he says, he goes on for a little bit and makes a joke about how he's not okay, but then ultimately says he's fine, and that that's like just he's known for doing that kind of stuff, like basically like Jackass quality, like Jackass style stunts.
Right. At this point, Schlocko starts to tape Escobar onto a chair. And Joey Janela's like, this is like something I've downloaded on fucking LimeWire. Yeah. He's like, I don't want to see this fucking Taliban execution.
Yeah. His commentary was so funny. That made me laugh so hard. It's just
made me laugh so hard.
Comparing it to like execution videos on LimeWire. Oh my God.
They literally strap like a firework to this guy, and light it off. I was shocked, honestly. Rewatching it, it was okay, but when it first happened, I thought like I was like waiting to see if there was like pieces of this guy.
Yeah,
like
when you don't know it's coming. Yeah, it's a hard watch made easier by Joey Janela's hilarious commentary.
But he was not happy with this. I don't think he's like, God damn it, why did I jump off of a roof into a fucking truck full of light tubes? Why the fuck did I do this to everybody?
But see, in retrospect, I was thinking about it, and that's just his comment. I think that's his commentary character for GCW now, because he's like an AEW superstar being featured in sick matches on TNT, and is one of the people that helped establish GCW. I think him coming back now, him being the heel commentator, is the perfect like position for him. Like, oh yeah, it's while we were watching it, I definitely was like, oh my God, I hope that guy's okay. It took some of the big spots really were hard for me to digest. Joey Janela's commentary made them funnier, and in retrospect, just the whole event from top to bottom, such an incredible event, so funny. I would say maybe
you're not going to see anything like it.
One of my favorite events of the year. Yeah.
I mean, just from a production standpoint, and the fact that we got to see like a guy walk onto like one of those kids' houses to like do a move and just like fell right through it, like moments like that.
Yeah, this event overall was really great. I wish I was in Moncton, New Brunswick with the two of you enjoying Swiss Chalet while watching this.
We did order Swiss Chalet. Saint-Hubert would not deliver to Riverview. We were scandalized. Absolutely scandalized.
I think Swiss Chalet is slightly better anyways, so that's okay.
I think you're absolutely wrong about that. You do not get half a hamburger bun from Swiss Chalet to dip in your gravy.
Yeah, but Swiss Chalet's ribs cannot be fucked with. This is a very like niche. This is a niche.
Okay, well, we're not. We're talking about ribs, fine. But if we're talking about a quarter chicken dinner, I'll take Saint-Hubert.
I never get this quarter chicken dinner from either place.
Well, you get the piri piri chicken.
Yeah,
that's like a quarter chicken dinner, but it's just a barbecue one.
You got me there.
We'll be right back on Talkin' Rotisserie Chicken.
Dude, yeah, I can't wait. I am legitimately stoked to be in Moncton, New Brunswick in December for Swiss Chalet, Saint-Hubert's, and
all Deluxe. I can say is don't count those chickens before they're hatched, Mr. New York City boy.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually legitimately don't know if I'm going to be allowed to come into the country at that point. We'll see.
Whenever we do record a live episode, it is going to be extraordinary.
Absolutely. Thomas will be a special guest. As I texted you the other day, I found a CD-ROM of a Stone Cold soundboard. I haven't tried to upload it to my computer yet, but if it works, sound drops are incoming. I wish that they could be possible for every episode, but I think that they would get I would go off the rails with them, I think. So it's probably
you are going to go off the rails. You're going to like make your point, and then you're just going to be like, and that's the bottom line. I'm going to be like, all right, John.
That is what's going to happen.
All right, John, we get it. You're going to interrupt me when I disagree with you. Speaking of disagreeing, we watched AEW Fyter Fest Night 2.
Night 2.
This week.
So sick. Did you skip over Dark again?
I skipped over Dark.
All of Dark? Even knowing Dr. Luther and Cass?
Please, enlighten me on Dr. Luther's contribution to the world of wrestling this week.
It's really not even worth... It's almost not even worth talking about. But Dr. Luther faced Cass. The one match from all of Dark, again, that I would say was stand out that you missed that you would really like. Brian Pillman Jr. made his debut versus Sean Spears.
Against my boy, Sean Spears.
Sean Spears gets a really big win. And Taz points out that Spears is on a nonstop dominate. I don't know why he said it that way.
Because he's weird.
Yeah,
he doesn't get the phrasing. Spears is on a non-stop dominate. He's got a date with destiny.
I'm pretty much word for word what he said. And that match was great. And Serpentico versus Scorpio Sky was very sick. Serpentico is that like luchador with the cool mask.
Yeah.
The one singles match between them. Dr. Luther versus Scorpio Sky is what you would think it would be. Very slow, very plotting. Luther yells a lot, which is funny. And that's about it. You missed, though, before we move on to Fyter Fest Night 2, the main event, Dark Order faced off against my favorite tag team.
And not yours.
Brandon Cutler and the Librarian. Dude, Cutler does a huge moonsault to the outside. And
these dudes need to join the Dark Order. Was there any development in that?
Not particularly. I mean, Dark Order won. End of the show.
They should recruit them. That should be a long-term story.
I think that's probably... That seems like
too many tag teams. You gotta separate the wheat from the chaff in the tag team division. That's what I'm saying. It's too much of these natural nightmares clogging up the fucking pipes of the tag team division.
Speaking of tag teams, the whole night was a night of sick tag matches.
This was a love letter to
Private Party.
Omega and Hangman versus Private Party on any other night would be the match of the night. It was fantastic. Kenny was really savoring his entrance. I was like, okay, are they dropping it here? I'm really waiting for them to drop it. I really thought that they were going to give it to the Best Friends. And then I thought, oh, maybe it's the Private Party because they're getting this big push with Matt Hardy, like put it on somebody new. But they did manage to retain, but it was a fucking great match.
I thought that they could win. I thought Private Party could pull out a win where
like an upset
they'd
win.
Have two surprise upset wins on the Elite.
Yeah.
I think would be interesting. Who is going to take the belts off of Omega and Hangman?
Who can stop the path to Cage? Who's going to do it? It's going to be the Bucks or FTR. It'll be FTR. Do you think?
FTR, you think?
Yeah. FTR versus Hangman and Page. And then Page joins up with them. Before I thought Cody would be the fourth guy, but I think it's going to be Sean Spears.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Spears, Hangman,
Page, and FTR.
With Tully as their manager?
Yes.
That is going to be sick.
The Four Horsemen of AEW.
Then, do you think by then Spears will have a nice, lush mullet?
I think he will. Yes. He will look like one of the Freebirds in the 80s in that opening the opening of Highlander that I sent you that you'd never seen.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Totally.
Why can't Russell Mulcahy direct every wrestling match? Just swooping aerial shots and oh my god. I wanted that wrestling match to go on. Instead it turns into a sword fight between
I've not seen the whole movie. I wish that the entire film was that open. Like
literally has nothing to do with wrestling whatsoever, and they put so much care into photographing like the Freebirds and yeah.
It looks like they dropped into a wrestling promotion.
Yes.
And filmed that.
Yeah, it looked like there was a show going on in Madison Square Garden and they were able to film. And I imagine just because Russell Mulcahy like loves wrestling and it gave for somewhere for Connor McLeod to be in public but isolated because he's so fucking old, you know what I mean? He can't connect with modern society. He's like, I remember when there were gladiators and shit. Now I gotta watch fucking Freebirds.
I'd rather watch the Freebirds than gladiators. Dude, Lance Archer versus Joey Janela is what I want from AEW. It's what I like. It's what I, before AEW became a thing, what I hoped we would get from them. Like cool top independent stars facing off against wrestlers who have traveled the world, been in New Japan. Like this convergence of Lance Archer, who's been around for so long, really rose to prominence in New Japan last year as a single star after Davey Boy left and the Killer Elite Squad was no more. Joey Janela, who's been crushing on the indies forever. And then we get this awesome singles match. This was one of my favorite matches of the night.
I was so sad when it was Sonny Kiss who Lance Archer had brought out to the ring to beat up before the match. I was like, no, Sonny!
Oh, yes. And Siobhan was watching while that was happening, and she looked up and said, "Oh no, Sunny Kiss is getting beat up, but looking good while doing it."
Right again, Siobhan. Right again. Yeah, this was a sweet match. It was a good change of pace from the last match. Obviously, Archer matches are a little bit more slow but intense. I loved the energy Joey Janela was bringing. Having not watched his like classic matches on Dark that you keep talking about with Moxley. Yeah, I haven't.
No. He fought Omega at
Omega.
Well, on Dark he fought Omega, and then he fought Moxley at I believe it was last year's Fyter Fest.
Okay.
The main event unsanctioned.
Yeah, I've missed a lot of these Joey Janela matches. I need to go back and watch them. But it was really cool seeing Janela stand up to Archer, even though obviously he took the blackout through the table from the apron for the loss.
This really felt like a big pay-per-view match. Big exhibition, like singles match between two people who will eventually hold belts within the company. And yeah, it was great. There's a huge senton from Joey, followed by a 450 splash. Like both, he just tore down the house in this match, and it's cool that he and Sunny Kiss are both getting opportunities. Like, did you see Sunny Kiss is facing Cody next week?
I did see that. That's friggin' awesome. Yes, cannot wait for that. Taz came out.
Huge reveal incoming. Yeah, Taz comes out with the FTW.
I thought he had the.
You don't look impressed.
No, I thought he had the WWE Hardcore Championship, even though it made no sense that he would. When he had a bag in the belt, I was like, "Is it going to be a hardcore title? Is it going to be Brian Cage's Hardcore Champion?" But it was the FTW belt, which like I'd never heard of, so I just thought it was like the For the Win belt, not the Fuck the World belt.
Yeah, it's funny to me that to me, FTW has always been Fuck the World. I think just that's like what I used to write on my notebooks in high school. My older brother was really into Marilyn Manson, you were cool. And Insane Clown Posse, so he also imbued what FTW meant to me. Is
your brother a juggalo? I keep forgetting to ask.
My older brother, he was very into ICP. He's not a juggalo, and he is.
Don't answer the fucking question, John. He's very nice. Is he a fucking juggalo or not? Does he go to the meeting of the Juggalos?
He does not go to the gathering of the Juggalos, but he definitely would have at one point. The meeting of the Juggalos, like it's like a conference at a community college.
Serious question: do Juggalos wear face masks?
Oh, they definitely do, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure. I would guess that ICP is pro face masks, and Juggalos are too, because they're very supportive. They're very anti a lot of the racism that's happening in the States right now, and very outspoken about it. They recently released.
Don't fuck with that racism.
They don't, because they're all about family. They recently released a shirt of one of their characters burning a Confederate flag. They've pretty much historically been pretty like against that kind of stuff. But anyways,
when did the Juggalos start? Was it right after Batman Returns happened? And just, like, crawled out of that movie and just became fans of ICP?
Late 90s for sure. But no, my older brother is not presently a Juggalo. He might throw on ICP as a throwback to his younger days. Yeah, the it's so cool that he brought back For the Win FTW. Got it. Yeah, that he brought back the Fuck the World Heavyweight Championship belt, because the for those who listen might not have known, Taz made that belt because he wasn't getting title shots against Shane Douglas, and partly because Shane Douglas was hurt, and then partly because Shane Douglas just wasn't giving him like title shots, and Taz was rising to prominence. So after Shane Douglas was out for a while, Taz created the FTW Heavyweight Championship, so that way when you would say the full title, it would say Fuck the World Heavyweight Championship. So it's like dismissing the actual ECW Heavyweight Championship and via his created belt. Then he eventually goes on to unify them both, which is how he holds the copyright, because when WWE bought ECW, they bought ECW with the ECW Heavyweight Championship, but the FTW it's ECW, so maybe they just never copyrighted the belt. Maybe Taz copyrighted it because maybe it was his idea. But what a cool...
Yeah, they never held the copyright is what I read.
What a cool throwback to ECW for people that love Taz like me, and a perfect title for Brian Cage.
Well, it's good to get a belt on a heel.
Yes, and a belt that actually isn't recognized. Like, I think it just adds to Brian Cage's character.
But is he gonna put it on the line?
I mean, he did. Sabu won it back from Taz, but Taz willingly let him win. Don't remember all of the details of it, but
okay. I wondered if it would be like champion versus champion, all belts on the line at Fight for the Fallen next week.
Oh my gosh, Mox would be a cool person to hold that also.
Man, Mox 2 belts.
Do you think he's going to be? I thought that didn't. Do you think he's going to be cleared to wrestle next week? Is he cleared to wrestle next week? Do we know?
Look, it's looking good. They still announced it, and they had a week to go, so
I hope
it's looking good.
Yeah.
Next up, we had just probably the best match in the history of Dynamite.
Yeah, I agree. And now that we have a few days past, it's Friday. It's been 2 days since we watched it. I agree with that. Best match on Dynamite ever.
FTR and the Young Bucks. Again, just the storytelling that's going to quote Ricky Morton here, the storytelling that's going into this match. Like there's so much going on. There's so much extra wrestling stuff going on. FTR and the Young Bucks have been feuding for a long time. We're expecting them to clash at some point in AEW. It's going to be the biggest tag team match probably ever in the history of AEW. But for now, they're cooling that down by having them wrestle together, sort of have each other's back. So it's like, if you didn't follow that whole thing, they're giving
a new story,
like a
new story.
Exactly, 100%. So that's cool. FTR also has heat with the Lucha Bros for saying that they never tag. They need to learn to tag. FTR have heat with Butcher and the Blade because Butcher and the Blade were fighting the Young Bucks when FTR first debuted, and FTR wanted to keep the Young Bucks in prime shape, not getting jumped by anybody. So there's a lot going on to the story.
There's so much nuance in the story. Like Lucha Bros, quick, very agile. Butcher and Blade, power guys. FTR, power guys. Young Bucks, quick and agile.
Yeah, perfectly matched. How sick did like fucking Pentagon and Phoenix with their masks look great next to the Blade?
Oh my gosh, all three of them wearing masks. Yeah,
Jesus Christ,
so cool together. And
we joked they need to change it to Death Pentagon so they can bring in Butcher and the Blade and make it a 5-man.
That would be a perfect. That's like my present day and childhood, like the faction of my dreams. Like cool.
That would be cooler than LIJ.
They would rival LIJ. That would be tough. Yeah, I don't know.
And then they could do a super card.
Oh my god.
With LIJ, which was, let's name it out, Sonata.
Do it in order.
Shingo.
Though. Can you do it in order?
Naito.
Yes. It's
Evil.
Naito, am I right? Bushi, Evil, Sonata, Hiromu, Takagi.
Shingo. Hiromu. So there's 6 people in there.
There's 6.
Oh, I didn't know Hiromu was part of LIJ.
Hiromu? Takahashi?
I must be asleep. I'm a little bit asleep.
Yeah, well, we were talking about how he, like Shingo, his big brother, was protecting him in the mixed tag.
Yeah.
And he, like, I sent you and Thomas that photo of all of them with their belts together. Naito, Shingo, and Hiromu. LIJ has all of the belts.
I started to try to write some notes on this match on like the big spots, but it just, my fingers could not type fast enough to keep up. And it wasn't all spot fest stuff either. It wasn't just big moments like the Canadian Destroyer over 2 wrestlers over the top rope onto the rest of the wrestlers outside the ring. That's the gif you're seeing. But there was just so much, like you said, classic wrestling with Butcher and the Blade and FTR, just bringing that big man energy.
Dude, totally. And kind of looping back, a quick sidebar. I got them right and in order. LIJ.
We know, John, you don't have to do a correction for being right. You do a correction when you're wrong. Just to let you know, that thing I said on the last episode, I was correct about all the facts I wasn't sure about. So never doubt yourself, kids.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, this match, it's just like, where do you even start if you were going to point out moves that happened in this match? Like just
it's nonstop.
Just nonstop onslaught of double team moves between all of the different teammates teaming together. It's not just like it's FTR doing their moves against B&B. It's
exactly.
It's like like a huge Goodnight Express from Cash Wheeler and Nick Jackson, or
Yes.
Harwood and Jackson doing things together, or Butcher
Oh my
and
God.
Pentagon working together. Like there's
Seeing everyone meet each other in the middle was just so satisfying.
Yeah.
It took my breath away watching this match, honestly. Like when it was done, I just turned to my friends who have never watched AEW, and I was like, it's not usually this good. This card was top heavy.
You think it was top heavy?
Fuck this card.
I can't believe,
no, I'm just kidding.
I can't believe that you were not a fan of Jericho and OC. Like
Jericho and OC was a really good match, but you're going up against Keith Lee versus Adam Cole. We know that they're winning the belt. Orange Cassidy didn't even get the win on Jericho here. This should have been FTR and the Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros. They knew this match was going to be the biggest banger. This was a match that could have kept people from switching away.
You're saying that the 8-man is what could have kept.
Yes, and they also need to let those two huge tag matches breathe a little bit. Like there was only one match between them, which was the relatively short Archer versus Janela. Like it was just so much. I think my friends almost couldn't like process how much was going on. Like those matches should have bookended the card, because I don't know. I felt like I was burnt out after those two matches. Then going into the squash with Nyla Rose and Kenzie Page and Kylan King, which was, I thought, a really fun squash. I thought Nyla Rose looked like she was in absolute top form. Didn't go long enough to be like a great match or anything, but as far as squashes go,
cool to see her back and dominating. Yeah,
absolutely.
And SCU versus Dark Order, that was good.
And then this was the cooler match of the night. You
had to pace it out.
This was the bathroom break of the night, but I don't know. I feel like they should have spaced out the two big matches, and they should have spaced out these two kind of cooler matches. And I feel like Jericho and Cassidy should have been mid card. I honestly care enough about this event to be this critical, because I really the highs of the first hour just didn't kind of come again. So I sort of felt my friends being burnt out. Maybe if I'd watched it alone, it wouldn't have been as much of a consideration.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just from the perspective of building up Orange Cassidy to being one of their bigger future stars, that match needed to be the main event. I don't think.
Yes, if Orange Cassidy would have won,
but he looked so strong against Jericho, and also Jericho beat him with a move that's a one-hit kill. Like it's like I think you can always
like a hack.
Yeah, it kind of is. Like you can. I think anyone can lose to Jericho if you go the distance with Jericho, and then he beats you because of his spinning elbow that comes out of nowhere. It's like not really.
No, I don't think Orange looked weak. I just don't think it was like, if it had been his coronation, that could have been a main event. I just feel like,
I don't know, man.
I just feel like the main event was
on the entrances for both the tag match and for Jericho and Cassidy. Siobhan had her head down until Jericho came out. Then she looked up and noted that he has good stage presence. So if we're wanting an outside of wrestling opinion there, Jericho's main event commanding stage presence had her gripped. Meanwhile, the tag team shenanigans of the 8-man, which I absolutely loved, did not. So,
well, I'm sure that could have gotten Siobhan to change the channel from the Real Housewives of New Jersey to AEW Dynamite. So they won in the Siobhan demographic, I suppose. But I mean, I'm splitting hairs here. Like, this was
Fyter Fest was sick. Overall,
two of the best tag matches. They lost their main event, Brian Cage versus Moxley, and still put on.
Yeah, it was great. That's true. Wow, what an event this! Imagine this was a one-night pay-per-view event.
This is what it felt like. It felt like that was the vacuum that was not there, which was that huge main event. To me,
I agree. I actually do agree with that opinion totally.
Night 2 on a 2-night pay-per-view main event, it should be the biggest match of all of those 2 nights. And like, can you say that about
the biggest match of both nights was the tag match? And if you're,
can we end the episode here before John says anything?
Well, no, I'm gonna kind of go back to what you said a couple minutes ago. Not to make this a AEW versus NXT thing, because that's an annoying thing to continually do. But in your point about channel changing and watching, I really wanted to see Keith Lee and Adam Cole. As I mentioned earlier, I sought it out, watched it after it happened. I didn't watch it live. But if we're talking about watching live, I would not switch the channel, not move during the tag match. I may be more prone if I can only watch one of them this week. If I can only watch one match this week, Keith Lee versus Adam Cole or Jericho versus Cassidy, I'm watching Keith Lee versus Adam Cole. If I'm only watching one match this week and it's Keith Lee, Adam Cole versus the tag match, knowing what we know, I'm watching the tag match. Tag match, best match of the entire, out of the, what did we watch? Like, I didn't count the matches this week. Probably watched like 30 to 30 matches this week, maybe. Out of all of them, it's maybe a slight overestimation because we didn't watch as much as we normally do. But out of all of them, the tag match takes
easily,
yeah,
was the best match of this whole week. I would say it was better than any match we saw last week. One of the best matches, like we said, of the year. Yep,
I can't wait to see FTR versus Butcher and the Blade incoming. So happy Lucha Bros are back. Psyched to see more of the Bucks. Like, their tag division is unbelievable.
And this is during COVID when they are missing a bunch of
there's no crowd.
talent.
Yeah.
And the crowd. Yeah, but I mean, we haven't seen Pac. I keep saying Pac. I want to say
Pac.
But I say Pac.
X-Pac.
We haven't
X-Pac. Pac. X-Pac.
Pac. X-Pac.
X-Pac. Pac. X-Pac.
Can I get a pack of X-Pacs?
X-Pac and Pac are drinking a 6-pack.
With Tupac. John, Pancrase, Eyes of the Beast 4.
What'd you think, brother?
Ken Shamrock versus Minoru Suzuki. I was so hyped for this match. From the jump, Shamrock is throwing some super high kicks. Like, it's always shocking how high Shamrock can kick. Few strikes are exchanged. Shamrock goes for another high kick, leaving his leg vulnerable. Suzuki takes him with an impossibly fast takedown. It is impossible to overstate how fast Suzuki is in this match. It is mind-blowing. Like, seeing him where he is right now and just being this, like, hardcore, just the toughest hoss, even though he's not the biggest, just being able to stand up to anybody, just exchange blows. To see him this fast, it's wild. They circle each other for a while, trying to find an advantage. Shamrock lands a triangle, but Suzuki edges out of it to huge applause. The crowd is so into it. Once again, they dance around each other, looking for their moment. Shamrock takes Suzuki down and applies pressure to the neck with his forearm. Soon he has him in an armbar, but Minoru manages to get close and reduce the pressure. Minoru is in charge for a moment before Shamrock is back on top, trying to subdue Suzuki. Shamrock manages to get another armbar, which draws a lot of cheers, but just as soon Suzuki is out again, the audience literally gasps in unison and then cheers even louder. They are on the edge of their seats for this 4-minute match. They grapple on the ground, trying to get an inch from their competitor, before Minoru traps Shamrock's leg. Shamrock, one of the toughest motherfuckers you've ever seen in your life, taps almost immediately. Suzuki is a fucking beast. I loved it. I love seeing these Pancrase matches, like, that mix real grappling. Like, give me a little bit more background on Pancrase. Like,
it's the convergence of professional wrestling and MMA in the late 90s.
Because they weren't punching, there was only kicks and strikes, right? There wasn't punches.
And all the matches are shorter like that because they're meant to be shoot matches like an MMA match. And oftentimes it's this, I mentioned on maybe our first or second show that it's disputed online. I've read a lot about it online, but disputed as to how much of it's worked, how much of it is real, how much of it is predetermined, or if it really is just like a UFC fight. And even just in that discrepancy between everyone, between the history of it, it's interesting to me and so fun to watch for that reason, because the matches are gonna be brief, they're gonna be intense. It's like, I don't know, it's like discovering, like when I first discovered it and started watching different Pancrase matches, it's like discovering like a new like record or something, and you have these like 2 songs that you love that are 3 minutes, and you know that's what I like about it as a wrestling promotion is that the matches,
It's like a punk wrestling promotion.
yeah, totally. Yeah. It's like finding a 7-inch that you love, that you play on repeat over and over again. You watch over and over again. And
I want to catch up with so many of these now.
And they're so digestible. Like the match you watched, I think it was 4 minutes tops.
Yep. Well, it was actually only 2.5 minutes of action.
Yeah, actual like fighting before as they get to
Yeah.
the ring. And the original inspiration, I've read a few different times, was Inoki fighting Muhammad Ali. Just that convergence too of a boxer fighting a professional wrestler was sort of the genesis of the idea. Suzuki and someone else, I don't remember the other person, sort of ran with the idea and made it to what it is now. And yeah, it's all of their graphics are incredible. If anyone is listening to
Yeah.
this, the Punk comparison is apt, just in the cool sort of harsh black and red graphics that are used. All of it looks so cool. The fact that their pay-per-view is called Eyes of Beast, like, or their big sort of like tournament pay-per-view, like,
I like this so much that I listened to an interview with Shamrock talking about getting into Pancrase and how he was just like a tough guy who like went to a wrestling gym and just like fought all these other tough guys in America, ended up auditioning for the recruiter of Pancrase, fought this guy, threw him around. He brought them to Japan, basically gave him a couple guys. He beat them both pretty handily, but then just kind of put him through 4 matches before like Suzuki came in, and then like just fed him to Suzuki and this other guy. But basically it was just kind of to see whether he'd keep going. Like they'd be like, do you want to rest? He'd be like, no, give me somebody else. So he did that like 4 times, fought Suzuki. Suzuki just like had him in like a neck hold and stuff. He'd let him go. They'd be like, are you done? He's like, no, let's keep going. And after they did that for a while, they were like, no, we got what we need. And he was part of Pancrase. But it was so cool to hear. And just the more I learned about Suzuki, the more I realized like why he was your favorite wrestler.
yeah. And just that, like, when I found out that he fought Ken Shamrock in this event, my mind was completely blown just with how much I loved Ken Shamrock in the Attitude Era.
And when I think of Suzuki, he's like a badass, but when I think of Shamrock, like I'm like, that guy could kill you. So I was expecting Shamrock to take this.
Yeah,
and seeing him to be
'cause
put
you didn't
down
know
by
what the outcome
Suzuki.
was. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a classic match for me, Mark?
John, I do. You double dipped on Suzuki.
Did.
So I'm going to double dip as well on the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe.
Lay it on me. So psyched.
This
I'll watch
match,
5 more matches of his.
TNA Genesis 2006. Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle.
Oh, wow. Sick. Yeah, I don't know anything
rules.
About this. That's cool.
This match rules.
Is this a
There's
year?
several of
was
them.
the Kobashi match 2005?
Yes.
So this is a year after.
This is a little bit after Samoa Joe has been undefeated in TNA for a year and a half. Angle comes pretty much straight from WWE, gets a huge push. And this match, the crowd is lit. Can't wait to hear about your thoughts. It's a fucking good one, man.
Man, I can't wait to watch this and report back next week.
This has been another episode of the Torture Wracked podcast. You can follow my co-host, John F. Malta, at John F. Malta on all social media. You can follow me, Marc Basque, at Waste of Taste on Instagram. You can follow us at Torture Wracked on Instagram. Another great episode, John. Can't wait for next week where we'll be talking about the New Japan Cup Finals.
Who can stop the path of Torture Rack?